have a testimonial from Mrs. Patricia Lazarus, representative of the Board of Management of the Rock Hall All-Age School in the post of acting chairman.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Senator the Honorable Pearnel Charles Jr., our guest speaker for today, Minister in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Welcome to Mrs. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, our Member of Parliament. Welcome again to Mrs. Paula Davis, who offered our prayer. And welcome to the mayors who are here. His Worship Councillor Homer Davis, who is Mayor of Montego Bay and also Chairman of Rural Water, and His Worship Mayor Winston Mirage of Maypen. We're very happy to have all of you here. Welcome to parents, friends, other officials that are here, and everyone who's seated in the audience, including the children. I am going to take an opportunity this morning to give a testimonial, but also, as I'm a person that recognizes opportunity, I ask you to indulge me as I say some of the things that I really want to say. So I stand here this morning to express our great pleasure, the greatest pleasure of the Board of Management of Rock Hall All-Age School, for the installation of this rain harvesting system, which has come with other trimmings and benefits. It's particularly, I'm stressing the water. Now, finally, I hope, finally, after all the years that I have been associated with this board, and it's a considerably long time, through many administrations and past principals, the school has always struggled, like other rural schools, with an efficient delivery of water to the buildings. We've always had that common problem. Finally, today, with the commissioning of our system, I look forward to dispensing with the bathroom bucket brigades. And stressing water, as all areas of the island, rural schools in the hills, everybody shares this common problem. So it's a very welcome development here this morning. However, as I'm on the topic of efficient water supply to schools, kitchens, and bathrooms, I also point out that household toilets are completely inadequate to any school environment. Household-type toilets in schools must be replaced with more durable ones, and hopefully this is the next step being considered by the ministry. But I'm particularly glad about receiving rainwater storage. Rainwater is abundant, and this was an old practice that Jamaica had thrown away and abandoned for a very long time. But if you go to houses around these hills, you will still see these old rainwater catchment tanks, huge ones, built out of concrete, or placed underneath the house. And it's the most efficient system of storing water for hard times. I'm happy that we finally have that. Then we received a generator, solar panels, another very welcome development in the greening of our school. I expect that the energy generated by our solar system will soon redound to the benefit of the Ministry of Education. When electricity bills after that are cut in half, I hope, or at least in half. But on the matter of energy efficiency, I point out that the gross energy consumed by many government ministries and agencies, schools and hospitals all across the island are probably the highest amount of electricity used anywhere, including the hotels. For years as a I say this because for years as a filmmaker, I was resident in part of a government building, a large government building. We were always astonished when we came out late at night after a shoot or an edit and saw the whole building ablaze with lights. That happened night after night after night, even though the staff had left at 4 and 5 o'clock. And driving through New Kingston and all over the business districts, I noticed the same phenomenon. Late at night, place locked up, staff gone home, lights blazing. I hope something can be done about that. So I'm sure that all Jamaicans are delighted by the strong initiatives being taken by this administration to dramatically increase the use of renewable resources in delivering energy. It's the absolutely sensible way to go in Jamaica. As I've repeatedly said, our building codes need to be amended so that it's required of every developer and every person putting down a house to have rain harvesting. This can be seen the lack of this or the deficiency in this can be seen very dramatically today in the Bahamas. My son is there and reports to me that on Guana Key and Abaco and Grand Bahama, it's a scene of despair because nobody, almost no one, locals and foreigners, were prepared for a monster storm. No houses had any, very few houses had any rain storage. Nobody had generators. They just weren't prepared. They had always been bypassed by these hurricanes. And now, with climate change, the hurricanes are following the Gulf Stream and going straight up the Gulf Coast, the eastern coast of the US, and into the Atlantic. So they're likely to be battered continually in the future. And their lack of preparation should be a huge lesson for us here. We need to be totally prepared, with initiatives like this, because not only is this benefiting this school, but also when the school is being used as an emergency shelter. So we're very happy for all of that. But as I talk about greening of our schools, I must point out to you all that Rock Hall All-Age School is probably the first school in Jamaica that abandoned the use of styrofoam containers. We did this about 15 years ago, and it was done painlessly. It was quite painless. When I hear the complaints on the radio call shows, oh, we can't do this, it's going to be so hard, so expensive, blah, 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 I sit there and chuckle. At Rock Hall All-Age School, we made the decision on the board. We invited the principal to buy into that decision. She did. And then within a week, we had changed. We just changed. So it was decision taken, action done. And it's as simple as that. So this morning, I really would like to extend a huge thank you to Rural Water for the implementation of this, for the implementation of the project. So Rural Water, we know we have had our delays and our nicks and our snags, and I expect that all of those as a pilot project will serve to inform you going forward when you're installing this in other schools, which I hope will be done, and will be done as fast as possible. I'd like to thank the government of Jamaica for the initiative to start this greening, this harvesting, this sensible way to go with renewable resources in place of non-renewable. It is going to be a huge benefit economically to the entire country, not only this school. So I thank everyone once again, all the dignitaries. I thank the staff and teachers and children of Rock Hall All-Age School. And on behalf of the Board of Management, I would like to say again a huge thank you, and we look forward to the commissioning. Thank you.
We would like to thank Mrs. Lazarus for her words, and truly it is representative of this entire staff who have been too long members of the Bucket Patrol. They're retired as of today. Thank you. All right. As an educator, we learn not to do much from memory. Script is important. So my first attempt at welcome, several persons were not listed. This time, I'm using a script. Senator Honorable Pearnel Charles Jr., Mrs. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, Member of Parliament, Mr. Audley Thomas, Managing Director of Rural Water Supplies, you're sitting right in front of me, Mr. Peter Clark, Managing Director of Rural Clark, along with his staff, Mayor of Montego Bay, Mr. Homer Davis, Mr. Douglas Wilson, General Manager, Engineering, Rural Water Supply Limited, Ms. Murray Bennett, Managing HR Manager and HR Corporate Services for Rural Water Supplies, Mrs. Talia Gibson, Senior Director, Water Policy Unit, Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
Water by Gamala Lichmore. You see water, it is a basic need. You see water, it keeps us when you're thirsty. You see water, it is a basic need. You see water, it keeps us when you're thirsty. You use water, cook, wash and clean. Water helps to practice proper hygiene, like wash your hands, beard and brush your teeth. You use it mop the class well it need for clean. You see water, it is a basic need. You see water, it keeps us when you're thirsty. You see water, it is a basic need. You see water, it keeps us when you're thirsty. thank you for the tank, rural water. I am sure it will make life much better when there is a drought and time get dry. The water now the puppy don't need to cry. Cause we have 2 tanks to our water like bank, but we still not go waste water, man. It has in place. You see water, it is a basic need. You see water, it keeps us when you're thirsty. You see water, it is a basic need. You see water, it keeps us when you're thirsty. You use water, cook, wash and clean. Water helps to practice proper hygiene, like wash your hands, bathe and brush your teeth. You use them up the class and it need for clean. You see water, it is a basic need. You see water, it keeps us when you're thirsty. You see water, it is a basic need. You see water, it keeps us when you're thirsty.
Good job, Kamala. Very well done. You see, water, it is a basic need. It's a pleasure to hear from Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, always having that pitch for the rest of the family. Thank you.
Hills of Rock Hall. I'm glad it's cool today because the other day we came up here and it was quite warm, wasn't it, Mrs. Plummer? It was very warm, but we're thankful for the rain. Thankful for the rain. Let me, of course, welcome the Senator Honorable Pearnel Charles Jr., Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Let us also welcome His Worship Councillor Homer Davis, Mayor of Montego Bay, all the way from Mobay, and also Mayor Mirage, who's not that far away from here. Let me also welcome, of course, Mrs. Paula Plummer, her our school principal, Reverend Paula Davis, who prayed for us this morning, Mrs. Patricia Lazarus, a very hard-working lady, this lady is. Let me tell you that. Very hard-working. Let me also welcome Ms. Latoya Johnson, who's the Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, and all the personnel from Rural Water. Let me say a hearty welcome, Mr. Thompson, who I speak to on a weekly basis, right? I know he's not tired of me, but not yet, because I'm going to continue bothering you. And of course, all the personnel from the Ministry of Economic Job and Job Creation. I see someone here who's possibly minister going to be asking us for something similar. But we're going to be giving him a thank. Mr. Paul Messam, the principal of Red Hills, is here. I know I saw him somewhere. Welcome. Let me also say a hearty welcome to the residents of Rock Hall and, of course, our students here. Let me say how grateful, how thankful I am for this water catchment. There's 30,000 gallons of water. And I remember when it was being instituted, I was like so excited because you know, West Rural is a very large constituency. And one of the problems, I hear the Kingstonian crying out about water, and I go, what if they lived in West Rural, where we have such water shortage? You know, when I was growing up back in the 70s, you know, I lived in the country, of course, and, you know, you had a lot of rivers. When I go back to where I'm from, the rivers have almost dried up. So we have a lot of these systems that are now drying up. And so even the tributaries, water is a problem with the climate change and the issues that we're having with climate change. This is so important, Minister, that we have these rainwater catchment in our school. Now, I have to say, with rural water, we've been getting tanks rehabilitated in West Rural St. Andrew. I am pleased, very pleased, especially with the solar panel, because I know that Rock Hall was having some serious issues with the lightning, and we recognize just in the last couple weeks with the lightning storms that we've been having, and of course that knocking out the power here and causing school to be canceled. We don't want that. We don't want to disrupt classes, and so we're very happy for that system. from the ministry, of course. And so, again, as I said, I want to thank this government for again being from a rural constituency. 700, I remember talking to Mr. Thompson from Rural Water last year, and I was asking to rehabilitate another place, and there used to be just $100 million that rural water used to have in their budget. And for the year, $100 million, and now it has been increased to $795 million. And so that is exciting for rural places across Jamaica, because we are more rural than urban. And so this is exciting for me, and I want to say, Minister, I would want to see more of this. Let's look at, there are a couple other places, Essex Hall, but we're talking about Rock Hall now. So the focus is here. And so there are a few other places that I know that is being rehabilitated, so I'm very excited. So let's now continue to travel around West Rural so that we can fix the system. And again, once again, I want to thank the government and thank Rural Water, thank the ministry for seeing the problem and actually doing something about it, solving the issue. No longer, as Mrs. Lazarus said, that the children will have to take buckets to flush the toilet or to wash their hands. And so we want this right across Jamaica, and I'm very happy for this system that's here from you guys. Thank you so much, and thanks for coming out.
We invite His Worship, Councillor Homer Davis, Mayor of Montego Bay, to share his remarks. Thank you.
Always looked at this school and say, that school looked to be a well-disciplined run school. And so when I became aware of this project, and when I even was told that today would be the official opening or commissioning, I said, well, nothing can stop me with all what is happening in Montego Bay. I will have to be here today. So today is indeed a pleasure for me to be here to see the commissioning of this project. I know the list of salutations is very long, so I will just confine my list because I have to recognize my minister. Minister of Pearnel Charles Jr., Minister without portfolio, with responsibility for water, housing, and infrastructure. Member of Parliament, Mrs. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn. I am sure it is even more a pleasure for the staff, students of this institution today, because what is being commissioned here today, it is to give our children the space in which they can operate freely, knowing that potable water will be adequate at all times. For me personally, as chairman for Rural Water Supply Limited for over the past 3 years, it is satisfying whenever a project such as this has been completed and is being commissioned, given its benefit to particularly the children in terms of satisfying their basic needs and their whole sanitary environment. Rural Water Supply Limited is actively engaged in the implementation of several projects in West Rural St. Andrew. And I will just name a few. Golden Hill Water Supply, Golden Hill and Pinto, those are the areas that will be benefiting. Lawrence Tavern Primary, Essex Hall, communities such as Lacey, King Western Primary School. These communities, before the end of this budget year, will benefit from an improvement in their water supply. And I might say West Rural St. Andrew is really seeing the prosperity of water flowing into their respective areas. Rural Water Supply Limited has been providing rainwater harvesting solutions for several schools in rural Jamaica. My own division has been the beneficiary of two such projects, the Roehampton Primary and the Anchovy Primary. What I can say to you, as a result of these two projects, the principals have reported to me that they have seen an increase in the attendance at these institutions. So since 2011, we have completed some 40 rainwater harvesting facilities at primary schools right across the island, benefiting some 18,800 students. This year, budgetary support from the government for the 2019-2020 financial year, which was said by the Member of Parliament, some close to $800 million were made available to rural water. And Minister, I know you have some concern, but I've been speaking quietly to my managing director and senior engineers at Rural Water and board members. We will hit the ground running, because what we will be seeking to do is for the government to look at us next year and double that budget. No, but what I can say, Mr. Minister, is that rural water, we are serious about really giving the rural folks water. And I heard someone said it, I don't know if it's Ms. Lazarus, as it relates to climate change as we are now seeing it. Rainwater harvesting will have to become a more daily approach to how we harness water. Because the rivers are drying up, the sources are drying up, and Mr. Peter Clark is there from Water Resources Authority of Jamaica. He can attest to that a number of our streams that, you know, at 1 million, 2 million gallons per day, you know, down now to 500,000, and probably when rain is falling, it might up to 1 million. And what we see happening now is that the drought is coming on at a much shorter period of time. So you could withstand a drought, say, for 2 months. Now, 3-4 weeks, and you realize that you're in problems with your water supply system. So rural water, rainwater harvesting, we are here to make sure that, you know, you, the community members, not only in Rock Hall, but right across Jamaica, is given this precious commodity. We're also working with the Environmental Foundation of Jamaica for grant funding under the Climate Change Resilience Program. And so far, some 9 projects have received funding through this initiative. Projects which are ongoing include Rock Spring in St. Andrew, Merlinotti High School in Hanover, and Planters All-Age School in St. Catherine. Rural Water Supply Limited has been in dialogue, and this one is very exciting to me, and I spoke to the minister with responsibility for education about a general holistic approach right across Jamaica, all schools to have such a system. And so far they have supplied to us some 182 schools, Minister, and we are now in the process of doing the investigation to come up with the design. At the end of that, we'll be entering into an MOU with the Ministry of Education to have these systems constructed at these schools. So it's very exciting time for rural water. In the 2009-2020 budget year, I've spoken to that already, of the amount we were given. So far, we have completed some 26 minor water supply systems. And it's not only completing 26, but the benefit is to some 65,000 residents island-wide. We intend to complete and refurbish some 23 catchment tanks, which will benefit another 6,000 Jamaicans across the island. So rural water is here to work with you, the people, through the government. But what I would also advise is conservation is very important. Not because you see the rainfall today and you have 25, 30,000 gallons of water. If you use it and manage it wisely, you might have a month or 2 months of water supply. So my advice to teachers, the supervisors, to make sure that when you're leaving your institutions at night, the pipes are turned off, or else you won't have school for the next 2 weeks. So as our slogan states, rural water supply limited, engineering for development. We continue to earnestly fulfill that mandate, Minister, which we have been charged with by this government. And I can assure you, sir, that we will exhaust that close to $800 million before the end of this budget year. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, His Worship Councillor Homer Davis. Very impressive. Rural water really is at work. Let's give them a round of applause again. He listed a lot, and quite a bit might have flown over your head, but work is happening, and we're grateful. I'm going to invite the representative from the Ministry of Education, Education Officer Ms. Latoya Johnson, who serves our school here, as well as our QEC, which Councillor mentioned several of the schools from our QEC are also mapped out for improved system. I'll invite Education Officer Latoya Johnson to bring her greeting at this time.
Our students, parents, staff of this school, and the other members of staff from the Ministry of Economic Growth, good afternoon. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information greets you warmly at this commissioning of the rural water harvesting system here at Rock Hall All-Age. This significant move in water harvesting could not be at a more appropriate time as we consider the effects of global warming. Today we witness not just a commissioning, but a synergistic effort of key stakeholders in realizing this milestone. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information applauds this cost-effective, low-tech and efficient way of collecting and storing safe water. We are confident that this system will significantly impact the approximately 368 students and teachers here at this school as we work at creating 21st century learners. Today is a significant day in the lives of our students here at Rock Hall, as we also witness the launch of the Water IQ initiative among our student monitors. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is excited at the opportunities this initiative will bring our students. We applaud the initiative and feel especially blessed as this is the first in a series of commissioning services. Thank you, Rural Water, as we collaborate in realizing the impact of satisfying this basic need in providing water, safe drinking water.
Thank you, Education Officer Ms. Latoya Johnson. We invite our students again to come and show their creativity with another cultural item.
skin dry, we are set things no matter make it smooth. Water is life, me say water is life. It not help me alone, but they make the plants grow. Water is life, we are set it keeps you alive. You hit 8 glasses a day, keep the hydration away. Water is life, we are set it keeps you alive. You hit 8 glasses a day, keep the hydration away. Rural water, give you the tank. Them always say thank you for your service because it really a good help we need. Water for the school, for the members, them use, wash them hand, wash them face and clean the bathroom. Thank you, rural water. We'll never a go make your life harder. Cause yes, we soon need water. Water is life, water is life. Water is life. We said it keeps you alive. You hit 8 glasses a day. Keep the hydration away. Water is life. We said it keeps you alive. You hit 8 glasses a day. Keep the hydration away. Water is life. We said it keeps you alive.
Come on, let's encourage our students. There is no credit that we can take for that. That's all the kids. For one, we just weren't getting the dance steps right. Honorable Pearnel Charles, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, with his introduction of the WIQI Monitors Program.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Principal and also our Master of Ceremonies. Permit me to acknowledge, since we are in her place, we have to firstly acknowledge the Member of Parliament, Mrs. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, who I must say is one of the most active and I do say productive members of Parliament. She does not stop calling. She calls you daily about her constituents, and she will ensure that you get it done for them. So I must tell you, don't make her get on your case. She is really, but that is what you want in a member of Parliament. So I want to say to you, congrats for all you've been doing and continue the good job. His Worship, Homer Davis, our mayor from Montego Bay and chairman of the Rural Water Supply Limited, who would be nowhere else but here today. But I am the one who knows that he had about 12 more events to attend. So thank you for being here. Of course, His Worship, Winston Mirage, Director for Rural Water Supply Limited, and a man who appears to be omnipresent. I think I just saw you at another event. I don't know how you got here before me, but we're going to talk about that. I'm coming from national security, so we have to watch you on the road. Mr. Audley Thompson, our Managing Director for Rural Water Supply Limited. Mr. Peter Clark from Water Resources Authority, who has proved certainly to be a wealth of knowledge so far. I see our representative from the Ministry of Education. Thank you for your good words. Of course, Mrs. Lazarus. Mrs. Lazarus, I tell you, when we heard you a while ago, both myself and Chairman said, but we don't need to speak. It is clear that you come here today with not just the experience, but with a passion for these students and this community. It shines out of you. You can't hide it even if you try. And so please continue to serve. I can imagine that you have told yourself and your family and others that this is your last year, perhaps from 20 years ago. Yes, and you're one of those. It shows. But your last year will continue to be a last year. Ms. Spence from Instant Save, and all of the members from the Ministry of Education, of Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. I see Ms. Gibson here, Mr. Lindsay and others, and everyone that is here. But I've left the best for last. Well, let me get everyone out before I go to the best. Our friends from the media, but again, other stakeholders, but this principle. I didn't forget you. I left you for last and your students because I am so impressed. When you see students step up to the plate and present themselves the way we have seen these two cultural items, it speaks a lot, not just about the students, but about the teachers at this institution. And I want to say to you, teachers, principal, Miss Plummer, I know that you are inspiring and you're leading. And we had our resident reverend give us a prayer to start us off this morning, which I believe encapsulates our feeling towards you and the teachers. And, of course, the students who seem to be fantastic and very, 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 very smart. I am inspired by what I've seen here. Mr. Lindsay, who is my advisor at the ministry, we are going to now have to have a competition between schools, because what I've seen, we don't need to hire any company to make the songs, Mr. Clark. We just need to ask these students to do it, and we just do a competition and run it. So let me say for all Jamaica to hear, we are here at official commissioning of the Rock Hall All-Age School Rainwater Harvesting System and the pre-launch of our Wiki initiative, as well as to launch and say to Jamaica that we'll be having a competition between the schools in relation to designing and coming up with the best tune to be the brand tune for our Wiki initiative. And I think I know which school is already on top. But I can't be biased. I won't be biased. Ladies and gentlemen, what a good day. It's cool. It's nice. And, at a time when so many questions are floating about, Minister, it's raining, but it come like the dam, them have an umbrella on top of it. People face it, I tell you. If you see the messages that I get. Minister, why you pick up the dam and can't go over the desert? All type of questions. Let me tell you. We have inherited a system that really ought to have been designed better. And we have the responsibility of solving those problems. But, I'm a God-fearing and faithful person, and I believe we're going to do it. It's a big challenge, enormous task. But I thank the Prime Minister for giving me this responsibility. When I was promoted to this position, principal, the first call I got was from somebody saying to me, boy, I thought the Prime Minister did like you. But the man make you Minister of Water during a drought. I'm going to double back and question that. But no, I think he understood my passion as well. And I have with me a team of persons who I have to acknowledge them before I even start to say anything further. With me, we have Miss Raquel Hodgson and Miss Abby Smythe from my office, as well as my consultant, Dr. Lester. But I'm going to highlight today Mr. Kemoy Lindsay and ask him to come. Come here, Mr. Lindsay. I know you don't want to be highlighted. But our vibes master, vibes builder, this is Mr. Kemoy Lindsay, in whom we have entrusted this Wiki initiative. And I must tell you, I'm proud of him. He has really represented the vision and encapsulated all that we want to come from this initiative. And, I try to do these things before we get into the meat of the matter, because you don't want to talk and then forget. This is more important than anything, to acknowledge the people that are making it happen. Am I correct, Mrs. Lazarus? That's so. So, Kemoy, I'm very proud of what you've done, and let me just say, because you've done so well, you know that saying about when you do good work, what's the gift? More work. Thank you very much. All right. So let's go very quickly into why we're here. Year after year, my friends, the planet is experiencing more intense weather patterns, more flooding, longer droughts, and other systems that result from what we know is the impacts of climate change. Jamaica, being a small island developing state, is one of the most vulnerable countries when it comes down to the impacts and the impact to our water resources. Now, we feel this primarily in relation to the changes in rainfall, temperature, and the occurrence of hurricanes and other natural disasters. So what must we do, Mr. Thompson? We must take action now. We can't do it later. We have to take action to build our capacity to withstand the impacts, not just react, but withstand. And this requires us to build up the knowledge of community members like our brilliant students here and the teachers here today, and to encourage them to implement best practices on how we can reduce waste and use our water in a more efficient way. As a nation, we must do these two things. Recognize the value of our water as being essential for life and invaluable to all living creatures. And two, we must recognize that we all have a social responsibility to conserve and protect our water. Within the Kingston and metropolitan area, for example, we know that the Mona Reservoir and the Hermitage Dam, our main water storage facilities, together they hold about 1,200 million gallons daily. That's the capacity. However, when we are experiencing below normal rainfall, or what we define as prolonged droughts, our rivers, which are rainfall dependent, are unable to supply the necessary inflow to these storage facilities. And so what happens? This means that less rainfall, less storage, and less water that can be delivered to people across the country. And that is why the rural water supply limited is important. For those areas where you don't have the utility service, that's why we have the systems that are implemented to make sure that whether you are in or out of that utility area, you have access to water. But when we have less water, what does it require us to do, students? When you have less, it requires you, therefore, to do more. And today, with this Wiki initiative, we are providing the tools for the students and teachers and community members to do more and to teach others to do more. Our Prime Minister has just returned from the United Nations Climate Change Summit. And at that summit, the world accepted, unfortunately, that things may get worse before they get better. It's not news that we want to hear, but it's the reality. That is a serious cause for concern for countries such as Jamaica, because we rely so heavily on water, rainwater, for our survival. That is why, as a government, we are investing, and we have made the investment, as Chairman has said, increasing the budget from $100 to an estimated $800 million to Rural Water Supply Limited. And as the minister with responsibility for that area, Chairman, you will be very pleased to know that there's no going down from here. Water is too important. And it's not just about the urban areas, it's also about the rural areas. One Jamaica. And so, at that summit where the Prime Minister was, it was revealed that the last 19 years included 18 of the warmest years on record, and greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere continue to rise. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report shows that we are running out of time. We're running out of time to keep global average temperatures rise below 2 degrees. This will have severe implications for this planet and severe implications for our country and our region. The worsening of climate change and the effect it has on our natural resources, in particular the availability of water, will affect not just our homes, but it will affect our economy, our peace, our security, and our development. This is why, as a government and as a people, we must look towards sustainable practices in our water sector to build our resilience against what is projected to come. Principal, I'm a scientist. I call myself a scientist way before any law or this politics business. And as a scientist, it means that we are taught to utilize and recognize the evidential basis. We don't go off of what we think is going to happen. We base our conclusions off of what is happening and what is accurate and what is tabulated. And so, Sir Douglas will tell you that we have done a lot of operations and programs and testing across the world. And we know that this is happening. If we do not take action now, action will be taken against us. So today, we have to celebrate the rainwater harvesting system that is being implemented, and we also acknowledge the hard work of every member of the team from the Rural Water Supply Limited, our chairman, managing director, and all who have worked with this school, this noble institution, to put in place this system. We also gather to celebrate one of the first steps being taken by the government and its agencies to build our country's resilience against what we defined a while ago, the effects of climate change. This Wiki initiative that I spoke of, it is to educate and to inspire the nation towards active water use efficiency and conservation practices. It is a collaborative effort which will involve my ministry, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, with which our Prime Minister leads. It will involve the agencies, National Water Commission, Rural Water Supply, Water Resource Authority, and the partnership with the Ministry of Education. The initiative is being carried out for us to go across the country with schools to be retrofitted with this rainwater harvesting infrastructure, but also for us to identify students and teachers who will participate in becoming the standard bearers for the initiative to be successful. Each participating school will be assigned 12 water monitors in the form of students and one coordinator who will be a teacher or a member of staff. Each water monitor will be trained in a session conducted by the ministry with the involvement of our agencies, the Water Resources Authority, National Water Commission, and the Rural Water Supply Limited, and other relevant stakeholders on proper water management practices and techniques, Mayor Mirage. The role of the water monitors and the coordinator will be to ensure that the school continues to develop proper water conservation strategies among the entire student body, while simultaneously developing initiatives to raise awareness within the school. And we have to again acknowledge what we saw here today at Rock Hall All-Age School. Because what we saw from our students, which is clearly being nurtured by some of the best teachers in our country, is the raising of awareness by getting them involved in building and constructing the mantras for water conservation. I am so pleased. Believe me, one of the best things is when you come to a function and you get more than you expected. The Wiki initiative targets schools as one of the critical institutions in our society that has the responsibility of molding the mindset and the direction of our future. All of the students that are here today will not just be water monitors at school, but believe me, they are going home to take charge of the house. They are going to tell their parents and their siblings and the visitors, no, you can't handle the water like that. Turn off the tap. Make sure that you use it efficiently. And they will have all of the tools to be able to carry out their responsibilities. Schools are also among the largest consumers of water. We would have seen at a forum sometime earlier last month, Miss Leanne Spence, I believe you had showed us a video of a school where we had a full running water. The water was running maybe overnight. because they were turning on the taps to check if water had returned, and left it, and the water had returned, and then it returned back to the soil. So if we're to change behavior in a sustainable way, we must start with our children. And Wiki seeks to activate the activism that resides in every child, not just when they are at school, but as I said, in their homes and among their families. So we are targeting multiple generations simultaneously while building a firm platform for building water security and resilience in the future. Jamaica is taking charge. Rock Hall All Age School, you have the honor of being the first ever school to be fitted with water monitors. And so we would like to, we'd like to introduce the first water monitor inductees that will help to usher Jamaica into future conservation and resilience. And I want to ask Miss Danny Clark, is she here? Miss Danny Clark, please come to the front, please. And we have to acknowledge Danny. Danny, together with her team at the ministry, are doing a fabulous job in really promoting our initiatives and reaching out to the public. Clark comes to help me. I'd like to call the names of our water monitors who we're going to ask to come up. Grade 2, Asia Campbell. Jasia. Andre Reynolds. Stay right here. Stand here. No, we're going to stay right here. Andre Reynolds. We're going to call all of them up. From grade 3, Akira Morrison. Give her a clap. I'm hearing she's absent, but a round of applause. Ricardo Daly. From grade 4, Javonte Rainford. Olivia Carr. From grade 5, Alicia Wall and Shaquan Rose. And from grade 6, Shanna K. Morgan, Donmar Davis, Gary Anna Mackenzie, Gary Anna, and Amir Sinclair. So let me also highlight, myself and Ms. Clark will do the pinning, but I just want to highlight that the students have a massive responsibility, an enormous responsibility. And so, students, I want you to appreciate that the government is putting its faith and investment in you. The protection and the development of our nation and country depends on you. We have also identified the lead monitors and the deputy lead monitors, who I'm going to ask just to step forward for me. Lead monitor, Shanna K. Morgan, give her a round of applause. And the deputy lead monitor, Alicia Wall. We have also identified the coordinator, who is the teacher, Miss Chelsea Williams, who I'm advised is upstairs taking care of her class like a real teacher. Now, let me just finish off and then we're going to do the pinning. Now, if change is going to come, my friends, it must be preceded by a change in our outlook and in the way we treat our water resources and all resources. We can no longer live in the present. We must contemplate our future. We must change our mindset if we are going to build resilience and ensure that generations to come will not be robbed of the healthy natural environment that is Jamaica. We are the land of wood and water, and it is now time for us to take control of the water. I call on all who are here today, especially the parents of our water monitors, listen to and support your children. As we know, it is a child that shall lead them, and we're making good on that prophecy. Again, as I close and before we pin our water monitors, I want to just acknowledge all who have contributed. We called a number of persons. I know I see Ms. Shanika Blair here as well, and other persons from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation who help me every day. Thank you for your support, and thank you very much. Monitors, are you ready to be knighted? Are you ready for the responsibility? Are you ready to take control of your own mindset? Are you ready to teach your peers and to teach your parents and to teach them at school and at church and at home? I don't hear anything at home. At home? Okay, all right. Please give them a large round of applause. That's good. Ready? Ready to work? Low five. Low five. Okay. What's your name? Good job. What's your name? All of you, please. All of you, young man. Yeah. Ready for the work? Definitely. You want a high five too? You're too big for that. All right, our leader. Good job, good job, good job, good job, good job. You ready?
Staff, students, and parents of the Rock All Age family. We are elated to have had such a successful handing over ceremony. Such a simple but yet profound ceremony could not have been executed without work happening behind the scene as well as in the open.
To the respective specially invited guests, we thank you for gracing our presence to share in our celebrations. To Rural Water Supply Limited, we thank you for blessing our school with such invaluable resources. Not everyone can boast about having their own sustainable water supply, but we most definitely at Rock Hall can say yes to that. To all our old and new stakeholders, thank you for playing an integral part in creating such a fixture in our school. To our school's board, led by our esteemed chair, Mr. Robert S.U., thank you for the vision realized through partnership. To the teachers and to their staff, however small part you played, thank you for your commitment and patience in assisting to realize the celebrations today.
Thank you. Very well. Very, very well. As a leader of an institution, you know something is happening when you don't have to do everything yourself. I am proud of these students. I am proud of the teachers. I'm proud of their parents. I salute all of you who have journeyed here to find out why Rock Hall pays attention to the skies. It rains on time here. And it is why I haven't exercised more of my skills of entertainment. Some is coming from the heavens shortly. Before we disperse, I really, really want to say, I don't know what the term is, Mrs. Lazarus. You're always good at pointing out protocol, but my most sincerest, my deepest, my truest, my surest, what's that phrase? The most realest real. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Things were dismal, they're no longer so. Please stand while we close this segment of our program.